Tyler Perry has another hit on his hands, and while there has been mixed reviews, if I'm going to go ahead and be nice, you know your good sis you let us talk TV and film with is going to keep it real with you. So let's get into this Mea Culpa review. The first part of this review will be spoiler free, so for the first 3 to 8 minutes, you guys do not have to worry if you have yet to watch. And I hope that what I'm about to say is going to convince you to watch, because contrary to popular conversation, to the Twitter streets or the TikTok streets, or people hopping on the bandwagon that is trending tearing down Tyler Perry, Mea Culpa is actually a very decent watch and engaging time. I think that in addition to the film being cast beautifully, literally casting could not be more on point, more top tier, and I'm not just talking about for our leads Trevante Rhodes and Kelly Rowland, but for the myriad of characters that we actually run into in this universe within this film. But also we get to see Tyler Perry make leaps and bounds when it comes to pushing himself within his writing as well as within his directorial choices. Being a person who covers Tyler Perry's Sisters, which is one of his top rated television shows, currently in its 7 seasons, one of the most popular series that he has had to date, week to week, in addition to watching other series such as Bruh and Ruthless, I think that I'm a really good judge of growth in character as it pertains to Tyler and his writing. Now, I will not make any kind of excuses, and I am not going to pretend as if there has not been a lot to be desired in the past when it comes to Tyler Perry's writing. However, when it comes to Mea Culpa, I think that a lot of the criticism and the scrutiny that Tyler Perry has faced in the past has actually been addressed. Now, without ruining the film, without telling you what's going to happen, because again, we are in the spoiler-free section, but stay tuned if you want a deep dive, because I do have my notes, and I'm going to go scene for scene of what worked and what did not work in this movie, so that you have not only my thoughts and opinions on why you should watch Mea Culpa and support this film, support Tyler, and support the amazing dope actors who are in it, as well as the crew who brought it to life, but you also know why. Because again, there is a Tyler Perry hate train going, and it's very trendy to jump on it every time he drops a new project. And those people are trying to be trendy, not trying to keep it real. Now, I started speaking about the growth that we get to see. And I do think that that actually gets dropped at the very end, because the last 20 minutes of the film are probably the worst part of the film. It's unfortunate because for me, I described it as Tyler not being able to actually land the plane, having a beautifully built plane, flying for the most part, smooth sailing high in the sky for a beautiful, scenic, dope flight. But then when we're about to land, it's pretty much a crash landing, because so much happens and the film becomes ill-paced, ill-timed, and sometimes illogical in the last 20 minutes. However, even though I struggle with the last 20 minutes, I thought that the end of the film was 100% plausible and was a happy ending that I could get behind, as well as the first hour straight of this 2-hour film was completely engaging, completely dope. It was way more nuanced than I'm used to seeing when it comes to Tyler Perry writing, and visually it was a feast for the eyes. Let me elaborate. In the film, Mia Harper is a defense attorney who also is married. The marriage is given rocky because we literally start the film in the therapy office, and you are initially confronted with the idea of, did her husband cheat or did he not? They're having issues of infidelity, they're having issues of trust, and you can see that she's a very strong, poised, well put together woman. And because she's a lawyer, she tends to, as her husband would say, lawyer the situations. The layers really start to build as we go along, and we get to meet her husband's family. We get to meet her closest friend, which is also brought to her by way of being her sister-in-law. And then we get to see her actually navigating life in her actual office. I think that the timing, specifically for the first 20 minutes of this film, it gave us everything that we needed to know about Mia, everything we needed to know about her circumstances and about how she views life, before introducing Trevante Rhodes' character, who is Zyair, the young man who is going up on trial for potentially killing his girlfriend. Now, while Zyair is an intense, artistic, utterly stunning man, the mystery and the lore that comes from his confidence, borderline arrogance, and his creativity and again intensity is what I think is used throughout the film to give the audience the did he do it or did he not. And I personally think that it was a really great time in trying to figure it out. There were so many points in the film where I'm wondering if he did it just because he made me uncomfortable because he's so forward or because he's so direct or because he's so forceful but then still maintains a certain gentlemanly way about him, which is very interesting. I think Trevante Rhodes made very specific choices and it breathed such beautiful life into the Zyair character that even when he was making missteps, even when he's clearly a boy, even when his nymphomania, yes, nymphomania is out of hand, you still want to root for him and low-key want to root for him with Mea. Dare I say it? So looking at Zyair and looking at Mea as two separate individuals, while they seem like they couldn't be more further apart, while they seem like they couldn't be bigger opposites, opposites tend to attract. And from the very first meeting, the energy, the chemistry, the attraction, the tension, specifically the sexual tension, is palpable. You can literally taste it in the audience, okay? You're watching for the first 45 minutes just looking like, okay, when you gonna break, girl? When you gonna push a little bit harder, sir? Okay, this is okay. Okay. Like, I spent so much time like, Now, again, I am going to stipulate that the first hour, and specifically that first hour and 4 minutes of the film, I think are utterly splendid. It was beautifully paced, beautifully shot. Tyler does a really great job of integrating various pieces of composition with certain scenes, and the framing that he chose is beautiful. It really, really complements these two dark-skinned leads, and I cannot stress that enough because even that, coming into this film, I didn't actually finish watching the trailer. I was sent the trailer when they first announced the film was coming out, right? And I started watching it. I'm 15 seconds in and I'm seeing these two dark-skinned leads and I'm like overcome with anxiety, with pride, with happiness, just to see people that look like us, because typically for us of a darker hue, we don't actually get to see too many leading people, and specifically two leading people of a darker complexion in a film. And I think that while Tyler has spoken about Kelly being the perfect choice for Mea, I don't know if having two dark-skinned leads was as intentional as it feels like it was, but it definitely landed well on me, and it really helped that these two actors worked beautifully together, found a great synergy, found great chemistry, and visually, again, it just fed into how stunning and splendid and how much of a feast of the eyes this film is for the audience. When it comes to wardrobe, when it comes to set design, when it comes to, again, all of the visual elements, they are really clicking on all cylinders. There's not a missed outfit for Kelly. There's not a messed up wig in sight. Like, everything works down to the lighting. They are always lit amazingly. And, you know, that's a thing that can struggle on a lot of Hollywood sets, specifically when it comes to darker people, Black people in general, but then darker people sometimes struggle with lighting us correctly. Y'all, this film looks great. I really struggle with so much of the criticism that people had over the weekend, which is interesting because it's sitting at #1 still, and we're almost a week out from its premiere. And thus far, or in the first weekend, it was 16 million views. Real interesting for something that everybody hated, that everybody thought was trash, that everybody just wanted to drag. But y'all watched it though. Anyway, I thought it was interesting, the criticism that people had, because a lot of it felt like it was regurgitated from previous films where those are very real criticisms, like the wigs. Sometimes Tyler goes a little bit crazy and it's unbelievable. The writing can be utterly ridiculous. And again, the last 20 minutes, it gets a little bit like that, but it's nothing like what we have experienced before. I literally have watched this film before even recording this 3 times at this point, and I will watch it again. You can see it playing right now. I don't have a problem with rewatching this film because regardless of the poor ending, I think overall Tyler did a phenomenal job of telling a very specific story, breathing life into these very specific characters, and overall it felt very authentic to the world that he built and the story that he was trying to tell. And isn't that the point of all of this when it comes to consuming film and television? I think so. So that will be the end of the spoiler-free part of this review. Again, if you haven't watched it already, go ahead and press pause. Go ahead and turn it on. It is still streaming on Netflix. I personally believe that you will actually enjoy it. Now, if you are a person who hates Tyler for hating Tyler's sake, or you're a person who is super skeptical, well, actually, if you're super skeptical, I think that he will pleasantly surprise you with this. But if you're a person who loves to jump on a hate train, if you're a person who gives into the terrible Tyler Perry trend that is going on, then maybe you might hate watch it and you might still come to me and be like, Erica, you don't like it. But I challenge you to watch it and then come and tell me what you think. Do that for me. Pretty please. Now that everybody who hasn't seen the film has gone ahead and put themselves to bed and turned it on so you can go and watch it, we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. Let's start with scene 1, right? That is the couples therapy. And the first thing I thought about was like, why are we starting in couples therapy? Why are we starting in therapy, period? It immediately took me to a place to try to compare the film to Acrimony. And not that it has anything to do with Acrimony, but that's another film that Tyler also, I think, started in a therapy chair, or at least a lot of the major moments were the main character there dealing with therapy. But again, that's a solo person, and in this film, it's couples therapy. Cool. I really want to go and watch Acrimony again, but I haven't been able to find it on any streamers so that I can do a comparison if there is any. I think that Acrimony, because of its ending and because of how it wound up playing out, it's also another one of Tyler Perry's films that get a worse rap than it actually is. And for all intents and purposes, it's actually a very interesting story that he chose to tell. And because a lot of people struggle with giving Black women permission to feel away, have attitudes that are valid, and to react to being discarded and disrespected, people gave that film a lot of undue flack as well. So just a little note, a little caveat there, right? But the 2 questions that come up immediately for me is, 1, did he cheat, and is she too stern? I love, for the first hour of this film, how information was delivered to us. I really made a note that I didn't feel like the first scene was too exposition heavy, and I think that that's something that Tyler typically does. Specifically in watching his shows, you can see characters over explain things, and in a business where you want to show and not tell, that's something that always jumps out for me. And I made the note in this particular scene because everything that was pretty much communicated, whether it's from the therapist, whether it's from Cal, whether it's from Mea, is all information that needs to be said. And then the other stuff, the filler, the context, the depth and the grit, so that you can really understand the weight of what's being communicated, is allowed to be communicated by the actor's performance, by the subtle looks, by the snark, by the kiss on the forehead that Cal does repeatedly, which denotes that he actually does love her, which also adds a little bit of complexity as we continue on in the film. So I think that this was a beautiful and a dope way to start the film off. And it launches us into the story of Mea, but also really starts to build out and give context to her world in a way that pulls you in pretty much from the start. What we do know from this first scene is that there's some big issue with the mother, and we don't know who is actually right and who is actually wrong. And that is something that I really appreciate, because while Mea is the character that's on the main poster, and you know that she's going to have a run-in with some other guy, and that ain't her husband, if you haven't watched the trailer, by how the first scene in the couples therapy plays out, it's not really clear if him being a mama's boy is actually the problem, or is she too strict and too stern and too much of an ambitious bossy lady that's creating conflict within their relationship. And again, I like that because it set us up to pull you into the story and really give you places to wonder and go and be able to flow with it. It wasn't, to me, super predictable in reference to where we were going. Now in scene 2, the only thing I have is that the mother is a damn menace, because the second scene is at Maddie's restaurant and it's for the mother's birthday dinner. And I don't know what in me clocked it from the jump, but I knew Miss Ma'ams, who's supposed to have cancer, who was supposed to be sick, she has way too much animosity, way too much venom to not have dementia and to be so-called sick. Like, I don't know. I know that cancer doesn't have a look, but she didn't look it to me. Her energy didn't give it to me. And I was just like, no, you're just a little raggedy ass white woman. And I can't even call you racist, because you were literally propping up Jenna, who is a little biracial beauty, as going to be Cal's second wife, because you can't stand his first wife. And you have nothing but animosity as she comes into this restaurant. And for the life of me, I could not figure out, while neither Charlise, her name is Charlise, while neither Charlise or Mea had not a bit of smoke for this raggedy ass white woman who keeps trying to throw them under the bus and dismiss them as if they are non-motherfucking factors in her son's lives, when they are literally the wives. Where did they do that at? If these men were not a turn off before, watching them allow their mothers to disrespect their wives was the immediate turn off. That's like, you will never be sexy. You will never know peace. But outside of the film, the Sega brothers are always gonna give. The older brother, Nick, I met him in Run the World on Stars as Anderson, and has been smitten ever since. So to see him play this little raggedy, uptight assistant DA, ambitious, basically psychotic, ugly older brother, I said, go ahead and act, go ahead and transform, because you're looking raggedy in here, but in real life, face card never decline. Body don't. Anyway, this film is not even about that, Erica. Anyway, the Sega brothers are always a good idea. There are moments throughout the film where I don't necessarily believe Sean in his performance as much, but then there's also moments where I really am like, okay, I'm feeling this. I believe you. And specifically, I'm gonna go ahead and jump all the way towards the end when he finds out about Mea cheating. And then he flips that table. It just took me back to an episode of Sisters where he also was playing Jordan at the time, the original Jordan, and he flips out about Gary cheating on Penelope, and it gave the same exact response. So I'm like, oh, I already seen this from you before. But that's just me. Some of y'all might not watch Sisters, so you might have believed the little flip. You might have not thought it was too much. You didn't think that he was overacting. But that particular moment, I did think that. I ain't gonna hold you. I did think that. But back to the beginning. From there, scene number 3 is they are leaving dinner. And again, the way that the information is rolled out for us, I think is so dope. So when we came into the restaurant with Mea, at Mea's point of view, Maddie's like, oh, I want you to meet Zyair. He needs a attorney. He's here. And she's like, no, I don't want to do that. Tell him to call me. And that is a subtle way to set up, us getting them introduced and her coming and potentially being his defense attorney. But it lays such beautiful groundwork for the other part that comes towards the end that's tied to Charlise. Charlise in scene 3 when they're leaving dinner and she's talking to Mea and she's like, wow, all these paparazzi here, and Mea reveals like, oh, because Zyair is here. And you don't know this on your first watch. Again, I'm catching this on my second and third watch, but like Charlise has this response because she has a connection to Zyair that we don't even know about. Y'all, I cannot for the life of me stress how much I feel like, one, in the past in Tyler Perry's writing, we have gotten a ton of exposition, and 2, we don't get enough Easter eggs that give us little treats and things to maybe miss on the first watch, but then catch on the second watch, and then it intensifies your viewing experience as you continue to view the medium and you find other things. So even that is to me another feather in his hat, or a nod to like there has been growth for Tyler as a filmmaker and him specifically and intentionally doing certain things like this. Now, in talking about additional Easter eggs being set up by Tyler, we get an Easter egg in scene 4, which is Mea and Cal driving home from the restaurant, and that is her turning on the Bluetooth. Even that, it's like, it's something so small you would miss it. It's not something that you would actually think of, and I'm just like, yo, the injection of nuance and specificity within the storytelling is intense and interesting because again, this is not something that is formulaic for Tyler, or at least from what I can recall. Maybe I need to go back and watch some more Tyler Perry movies and I can confirm or again further deny actually seeing as much as I'm noticing within this potential film. But on the first watch, it just flows with the story and it contributes to a beautiful setup, again, for a payoff that's going to come later. But like on the second and third watch, it's like, oh, if I would have known what you wouldn't have known on your first watch. But it just brings more weight and more enjoyment to the second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever watch, because you actually get to see how structurally Tyler worked hard to inject things into particular parts of the film so that he could pay it off towards the end. And the notes that I made in the scene is that Cal seems very genuine, which is more explanation for the state of their relationship and the circumstances that are currently happening outside of it. But we don't know what his profession is at that particular point in time. We just know that he doesn't have a job. We know that he just sold the piano so that he can buy his mother this expensive watch. So it's giving double down on mama's boy. And we get that, Mea is fed up because he's doing too much. Now, I made a note of, I think that Tyler Perry has grown as a writer, but he's also grown as a director, because it's this scene in particular where on my first watch, I was really drawn to his choice of framing. When we're watching them in the car, we do have the mid or the kind of wide, but not super wide shot of, them in the car with each other. But when he goes to their particular close-up, the parts of where he places them in the frame, to me, visually confirms exactly how far apart they are in their relationship. And then to have Mea, the character, as she's delivering her dialogue, look out the window as Cal is driving, focusing on the street, and then also looking at her. It is literally such a dope visual representation of what we're seeing play out, or what we can expect to see play out. Mea is in this relationship, so she's engaged in a conversation, but she's looking elsewhere because she's not being met. She's not being fulfilled. She's not being satisfied. She's not being met where she's at within this relationship. So there's something else to look for and hope maybe go and find. Meanwhile, Cal is driving the ship or driving the car and leading them someplace and in it and trying to connect with her, but then also trying to communicate how important this is to his mother, and she only got a couple more days to live. So he's battling with all that, and he's giving a little bit more, and she's basically almost checked out but going along for the ride. Did you catch it? Because visually, that's what that gave me. And I don't know if it's just the cinephile in me and because I love how stunning it looked, but when I really caught the framing, I'm like, yo, this is brilliant. And not to say that I think that any of the Tyler Perry films look crazy, right? But this just feels like it looks super, super intentional. And to know that Tyler has like super fast timelines and sometimes feels a little bit rushed and a bunch of exposition heavy dialogue and all of the things that we have given him as criticism before, to get to the fourth scene and to already feel like we don't have unnecessary exposition, to see that we're getting Easter eggs placed throughout, to see that there's a lot of time, energy, and effort being placed to a proper setup and build up for this actual story and the character who are acting out this particular story, and then to see that we get the visual elements that literally confirm the additional context for the story that he's telling. Chef's kiss. Give Tyler his things and stop playing with him. There are a couple of establishing shots I think that he does a phenomenal job of doing. Chicago, just so much justice in the beautiful landscape scenery scoping shots, again establishing shots that he gives us of Chicago. But going into scene 7, I'm calling that the meeting of Zyair scene, when she comes into the office and finds out that Zyair is waiting in her office, and she comes into the building and then she finds out that Zyair is waiting in her office. And I just wrote that this scene perfectly establishes Zyair. I love her question of why would the DA hate you, even that I don't know. At this point, I'm really getting excited for Tyler because, y'all, on a week-to-week basis, I have literally experienced just feeling like, yo, you got these characters repeating lines that they don't need to repeat. You got them explaining things that they can actually show. Like, literally feeling that way, and to know and to watch both of these characters only say what they need to say, the space that's left, because they're not having redundant ass dialogue, they are able to breathe more life into the actual performance. So there's so much still being communicated in the eyes, so much being communicated on when they choose to move and when they don't. Specifically in this scene, Kelly doesn't move a bit, and Zyair is moving throughout the office, and you could tell that this is him communicating his level of confidence and control and arrogance. However, Mea has not actually relinquished any control, because her standing in her power and her space also lets her know, like, she's not going to, lets him know that she's not going to be a pushover. This is not his show. And it's a very interesting, again, perfect meeting for them, perfect first meeting for them, but a clear communicator to the audience of what we're about to get into with these two specific characters. From the very first time that they get to meet, specifically in her office, I think that they do a great job of furthering her character development, entering in the question of, is he the victim or is he the villain, and starting to tease us with the tension that's going to come from the clear attraction that either or both of them have to one another without having an immediate explosion. I think it's such a beautiful, like, slow burn that happens throughout the first hour of the film that, again, keeps you engaged and interested. At any point in this review, feel free to drop down into the comment section and tell me what you think. If you feel like, girl, you reaching, I hope you stretch, because you definitely reaching, Erica. Please tell me in the comment section down below, because this is a dialogue that we are having about this. As long as you're not disrespectful, we can go ahead and talk about it if you don't agree with my specific takes. But at least I got my specific takes out there. And we're going to scene number 8, which is the scene where Charlise and Mea are leaving boxing, because I think while this was quick, on the second watch, it becomes even clearer how much was behind Charlise's eyes. And again, the build up to information that we find out about her and her tie to Zyair, but we have no clue on the initial watch, which again, I think is beautiful. But on a whole symbolism side of things, right? I think the choice for Charlise to indulge in getting ice cream after their workout, but Mea doesn't, also goes a long way in further doing character development, establishing who each of these women are, how similar they are, because we get to see y'all two chocolatey, sexy, bomb women marry these goofy ass brothers, similar, want the same things, but love each other down, have a really great rapport. However, Charlise is the one who's gonna go ahead and have a cheat meal right after a workout. Emphasis on cheats. Meanwhile, Mea's like, no, don't do that. Cause what? It's improper. Cause what? It could be inappropriate. Cause what? It ain't the safe thing to do. Which is also further set up for what happens later. Like, y'all, at this point, this is just probably going to turn into a Tyler Stan video. I'm going to talk about the areas of opportunities and the issues, but y'all, I have not felt like this in watching the Tyler Perry film before, so I got to give that man his credit. This very small scene even gave us so much, and they didn't talk about much of nothing other than Mea saying that she's considering repping Zyair, and all we get to see is Charlise say that she got want chocolate ice cream, get the chocolate ice cream, and then promise me you won't rep him. But promise you why? All of it's behind her eyes. All of it's in her choice to go ahead and get that cheat meal. Come on now. It's giving good cinema. Now, if we go to scene 9, and this is what I'm calling Mea and Cal at home in the kitchen, she is starting to do her research and due diligence on the Zyair case, going through his case files, and Cal got a problem with it. His brother is representing the prosecution, and he does not want her going up against him, and definitely not representing this murderer. Hell, except for the fact that she's a defensive attorney, so she reps murderers all the damn time. This also, further brings into scope how important Cal's family is, so much so to the point of this basically alluding to what my brother needs and wants for his career is more important than what you need and want for your career. Now, what I will say is that this scene, the dialogue could be massaged a little bit better. It could be in line with what we have gotten thus far. However, it works. Specifically to pick a bill, I'm going to figure out how to integrate that into my real life on a regular basis with people who are not my romantic partner, because when they're coming at me on some bullshit, I just want to be like, pick a struggle, pick a bill, pick something else to do, play with something safer. That's what the energy gives, right? But I noted that the dialogue could be massaged a little bit better, but it works. But it tells us, one, what he did. He was drinking and he was on drugs and he went to work as an anesthesiologist, high as hell. And now he's having to recover and she's paying all the damn bills. So while you don't want her to go and represent this man, this particular case is going to put y'all ahead financially and you're not contributing at all, but you're going to selling pianos and buying expensive ass watches and portraying and lying to your family, making me lie to your family about the fact that you got fired from your job because you was doing some goofy and you think that you're going to be able to dictate what I do to be able to provide for me and you, which is mine, as well as to propel my career forward. I thought a supposed alpha man had said something. Pick a bill, ho. Pick a bill. The moment that you could pick a bill, I'll put this case down. The moment that you pick a bill, I won't think nothing of it. Just pick one of them. House note, car note, insurance. We over here sending money to your damn brother to take care of your damn mama where she can't get no health insurance. That should have been red flag number one. Mia, what was you thinking? She don't have health insurance, but she got cancer? And y'all spending her money every month to the brother, not to the damn hospital that's treating her? The devil is a lie. Especially when you're dealing with a white devil like that damn lady. What I did really appreciate specifically about this scene is that she's saying to pick a bill, and while the topic of conversation and basically the content of the conversation could lend itself to, especially if it's coming from the mouth of a dark-skinned black woman, it could lend itself to being emasculating to men. The way that it's performed and the way that it's written, it does not feel like that at all. It feels like a woman who's doing what she has to do, whose back is up against the ropes, who's going to stand firm in her position, but also is taking into consideration her man's feelings to a certain extent because he's also doing too damn much. And I like that because that is another thing that comes up in the conversation around Tyler Perry and his writing and people feeling like him villainizing darker people and giving other lighter skinned folk savior complexes or whatever, which I would have to like go back and like analyze more of his stuff on that kind of level, thinking about that before I would get in line with that particular criticism. But I just knew that when you have the conversation around the woman in the relationship who is financially taking care of everything, who is doing a lot, who is hyper ambitious, it's very easy for people to negate her experience, negate her feelings, and dismiss her attitude as her being bitter and trying to emasculate this man when she's literally just existing in her bombness and her excellence. So I really appreciated how this scene played out. I appreciated the dialogue, and I appreciated that it wasn't overly like, oh, she's trying to bash this man. No, she's trying to do what she got to do to get them over the hump, a hump that he created. Pick a bill. Scene number 10, child. It's the first time at Zyair's Loft. I didn't even realize lofts could be as sexy as they are, but it's very much so given that it's sexy because of who in it, who own it. Child, at 17 minutes and 50 seconds, because I actually have the at right here, y'all. Y'all see that? I have the at right here because I'm not playing when I say I got these receipts and these notes. I'm not playing with y'all. Me audibly saying longing. When he asked Mia, what did she see on the painting? And she said longing. I think Tyler had me hooked right then and there. Because I said, oh, not you about to read me. Not you about to read me. Mia said longing. Zyair said, Mia is longing. I said, wait a minute. Is Erica longing? Is Erica longing? Maybe, child, but that's my business. Don't do that. Don't be in that. So yeah, that particular part caught me, and I think that does a really great job of drawing out the curiosity of the audience. If that's what he painted, or is that what we're seeing because that's what we need? And you can't help but think it, especially if you answer the question when he asked it to her and you had the same answer as her. It's low-key a mock, but it's a mock in the best way. That's how you know that you're really engaged in the story that's being told and it's unfolding on your screen. I literally wrote down this scene is great. It really is great. And we start to get more of his story in the scene. Love it down. Scene number 11. Mia comes home to the family. What's y'all's angle? Why y'all here? And why you got this goofy ass rag on your head, little lady? Please stop. All of it felt so forced and like a performance. She looked like she was perfectly fine and she's playing cancer patient, and I hate that for her. Cal looks so guilty from the top of the scene. It's like, you, it's so clear that you called your damn brother as backup because she owned your ass when she told you to pick a bill. You couldn't do that. And while you also can't go and tell your brother that you ain't got no damn money and on no job, so you ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, you wanted to probably tip him off. Yeah, she's gonna probably take this case. And the thing that I struggle with the most, because in the following scene we get to see her talk to Charlise, and Charlise is apologizing for telling them that she was thinking about taking a case. I wonder on the second and third watch, like, why in the hell wasn't at any point did Charlise warn Mea? Like, you seem like y'all genuinely love one another. It seemed like you really care. You really wound up by the end of it really feeling connected to her because she made the same mistake or misstep that you did. And the whole damn time you talking to your raggedy old husband who clearly don't love your ass, and y'all done been through what y'all been through, but you don't even tip me off. And now she got these damn people sitting in her damn dining room making her eat this dry ass lamb and trying to tell her what she is and is not going to do in her job because she's part of their family now and they have a say. You better say my ass, little white lady. Say my ass. I made a note that specifically in the scene is where I really get the gravitas of like, something is wrong with the older brother. Something is eerily wrong with him. What is it? Can't place my finger on it. Clearly this family is dysfunctional. Cal feels way more normal than the mama and the older brother, but also something is not right. And pretty much from the moment that they started saying that you can't do this, I'm like, oh, y'all just made the decision for her. Because even if it was me, if I don't like y'all asses, if you treat me the way that you treat me, like the mama is treating her on a regular basis, disrespecting her, and then you think you're gonna come into my house trying to make me eat your dry ass food and then tell me what I'm gonna do with a case at my job, and you really don't want me to take it, I'm absolutely taking it, if for nothing else to be petty. Congratulations, you played yourself. Scene 12 is when she's focused on diving into the case because she's committed to taking a case. As I mentioned, she has a call with Charlise, and Charlise is apologetic, but girl, you should have warned me. The biggest part about this is that we actually get to meet Jimmy, and Jimmy is who I struggle with wondering, why in the hell aren't you married to Jimmy? But we ain't gonna get there yet, y'all. Shout out to Rico Lee, one of our black icons. Again, so perfectly cast as Jimmy. He's just so dropped in and specific in his choices. I really enjoyed his performance as well. Scene 13, the Chicago Waterfronts. We're walking with Jimmy, and Jimmy calls her his little sister, and it's like, oh, so clearly nothing's going on there, even though some of y'all be playing that little sister bro card and y'all be bumping uglies, but that's y'all's business. I'm gonna go ahead and mind mine. And it seems like Jimmy genuinely cares, but he's still following Cal. So it's like, yo, this your sister, you want to protect her, she's in this marriage. Later on he says that he will never judge her after she makes the misstep with Zyair, and that's set up here because it's clear, like, you are watching Cal consistently. You're the one who caught him at the coffee shop with Jenna holding her hand, so that's how she knew about it before, and that's how they ended up in couples therapy. And she might have said, okay, it's cool, you can stop now, I know this, but you've been keeping tabs on him anyway. So it's like, you're really invested in her happiness, but you're not invested enough to tell her to leave that man because, I guess, like you said later on, you're not judgmental. Jimmy, you're too good. Like, why aren't you with our girl? Scene 14 is the judge's quarters because she has a meeting requested with the judge to inform him that she will be the defense attorney on this case and that her brother-in-law is the prosecuting attorney. That gets a little bit weird, but this, I think, does a really great job because we don't in this film get to see her actually in the courtroom at all. We don't actually get to see her practicing specifically on any trials or with any other clients. I think that this scene goes a long way in really anchoring us into her career and the fact that she is a legitimate defense attorney who has a little bit of weight to her, who has some respect, who commands a certain level of I don't know the word for it, but commands a certain level of something, so that you believe that she could be capable of getting this man off of a murder charge. And then also we just get more weirdness from the older brother. And some people ask me if I felt like this was a setup for Mea from the beginning. And I think that you could interpret it that way. However, in going back and trying to unpack each of the scenes and what's going on, I don't think that this was something that they planned from the beginning. I don't think in knowing what Charlise did, that they were trying to get Mea set up in that trap. But I think that if the last 20 minutes was handled a little bit better, if the ending was stronger, then we would have a more definitive understanding of if that could be the case or not. But shout out to people who asked me that, because y'all asked me that in my Discord. If you haven't already, join my Discord. We have a bunch of dope conversations around television and film. Shameless plug. Scene 15, honey. Jimmy meets Zyair. Yo, I think I'm doing a great job of driving home exactly how much I enjoyed the first hour of this film, because who knew we needed sparring between Ronrico Lee and Trevante Rhodes? Who knew we needed it? Tyler Perry knew. Brilliant. As Jimmy is interrogating Zyair, while Mea stares on intently to try to figure out if he lying or if he not, engaging all of this because we building up your damn defense, and he's asking the questions that they gonna ask, and he's not pulling no punches and not holding no cut cards. Baby, Trevante and Ronrico sparring in this scene, going back and forth, was just gold. Honestly, gold. Everything down to the mannerisms and eye twitch, shifting in the seat, all of it felt so specific in reference to the performance choices from the actors, and it just breathed so much life into the story. Like, I really struggle with people who have struggled with this film, because up until this point specifically, we don't have no reasons to cut it off, no reasons to disengage. Everything is really just pulling you in more and more and more. I really enjoyed Jimmy asking Zyair the tough questions, because up until this point, we're still trying to figure it out. It feels like Zyair has like this sob story, and you know, he didn't do it, and we supposed to believe it because he good looking, he speaks with a deep ass voice, and he got some confidence. But who are we to know, and who are we to trust ourselves, specifically ladies, when we looking at this fine ass chocolate man and he giving everything that need to be gave? You know that you could be swayed because he's just aesthetically pleasing, because he exudes sex appeal. But this is another man standing across from him asking specific questions. So this is a scene that's supposed to help the audience grasp if he did it or not, so that we can figure out if we can judge him or not and what side we're gonna be on. And then we still make it out the scene and we don't know what side, but we just enjoyed the feast that was watching these two men go back and forth while Mea stood on watching intently. Yes, Tyler injecting into my veins. If anything, this scene did not go far in helping the audience to understand whether Zyair did it or he didn't do it, but it did go far into helping us better understand how much sex he gets, or at least start to allude to it. Because, baby, not only do you got the dead ex, you got the other little scorned ex who said that you want to pinch your nipples and do this and do that. And it's like, sir, excuse me? Excuse me? Now, this scene was very quick as Jimmy is exiting to go to Mexico to go try to track down Heidi or her family or more information, because again, they're mounting a defense for him, and Jimmy is Mea's, private investigator who just helps her find the information that she needs to find. She checks with him and she's like, yo, do you think that he did it, basically? And he's like, I think that he's lying, but also I think that he believes his lies. So I think that if he's not lying, then he's definitely a psychopath. And given the fact that Jimmy has been presented as a trustworthy narrator up until this point, the things that he says seem trustworthy because Mea put so much stock into what he says and what he does. He seems so protective and so genuine of her. That part starts to introduce the doubt for the audience of like, okay, maybe he did actually do it. But again, I'm still on the fence because he gives so intense and soulful. So maybe I can still hope and pray that he didn't do it. And then it helps that he gets followed up in scenes 15 on the balcony where he tells Mea straight out, I'm not a womanizer. I just enjoy sex. and getting high. She's like, you can't do that. They're gonna drug test you. Well, to turn me in. When I tell you, this man is so fun. His words are fine. His breaths are fine. Like, child, let me stay focused. When Zyair talks, he wins the audience back. So this previous scene, we get Jimmy establishing that he might be a psychopath. We might be in trouble. But when Zyair speaks, and when he speaks to specifically his feelings, his thoughts, his story, he literally wins the audience back. 16, we are at about 39 minutes and 40 seconds. So we're coming up on that hour mark, y'all. And this is when they're having intercuts between Mea in the bathroom and Jimmy in Mexico. And I got a bunch of notes about this. Love the colors of Mexico. I love the choice to do the intercut within the conversation and not to just have him on the phone. But it raises so much doubt in reference to the case being mounted against Zyair, because there ain't no birth records, there's no sign of her family, there is like nothing there that actually points to this woman ever even existing, specifically ever even existing in this space. He goes as far as to try to track the cell tower that the video of her professing that he was going to kill her was sent to, and it's like no trace of nothing. Major red flag. Now, while Jimmy is trying to communicate this to Mea, Cal gets up out of bed, he comes into the bathroom, and then he promises that he's going to try to get them back to the moment of their honeymoon when they were so madly in love and they couldn't keep their hands off of each other. And I thought that was just so interesting and such a great choice to put there, because while Mea is now focusing 100% on this case and dealing with what she's dealing with within this relationship, but then trying to handle it, I felt like it was such a subtle choice as we see her as this high-powered attorney getting dressed, looking snatched, looking amazing, looking desirable. He comes behind her, he's hugging her, and you can see that he's still very much so attracted to her and everything, and he's fantasizing and dreaming of when they were at better terms. But she's focused on this call, she's focused on that, and she can't really give him an answer for the questions that he's asking. But y'all, what sent me of the whole thing is that after he finished saying what he gotta say, he goes back and gets in the bed, y'all. We see him in the background go and get in the bed. So for me specifically, visually, it feels like a visual foreshadowing of like, sir, you just talk a big game, but you're full of You're sitting here talking about you want us to get back to where we were, reconnected within our relationship. You want to be able to provide. You want to do all of these things. And then you go get your ass back into bed while I'm putting myself together to go on and take on the weight of the world and defend a murderer so that we can continue to put food in our fridge and gas in our cars and a roof over our heads. You go get back in bed? I mean, I get that you don't have nothing to do. You ain't have no job to go to, but I be damned. Okay? I be damned. And again, I think that is also another very dope specific choice Tyler made, specifically within the writing, but then also how it was shot. Like he could have had him close the door to the bathroom and we would have never known what he did once he left the bathroom. But the door is still open and you can see him in the background as Mea is staring into the mirror, basically kind of like processing what he just said, but also I think maybe contemplating how her feelings are manifested within her relationship and her priorities, whatever. And as she's like having these deep contemplative thoughts, he's in the background just getting into the bed. Come on now. That's giving nuance, y'all. Come on now. Scene 17, which is the first interview with Zyair at his loft with Mea, just one-on-one, not counting the little interrogation, right? Who is Renee? A bitter person, a very bitter person. Is everyone you sleep with bitter? Oh! She's asking the questions that we need to know, because while we understand that you love sex and you claim to not be a womanizer, it's giving all types of women being taken advantage of to some degree. So what is it, Zyair? Anywho, y'all. He says they think I'll fall in love with them and stay forever. Oh, so you are just that guy. You just got it like that. They fall into your bed, you get into their head, and then they think that you never gonna leave, huh? Interesting. We learned that Renee is the one who got him started in the art world, and he took advantage of the fact that she ultimately objectified him, sexualized him, and took on placing his artwork into her gallery because she actually wanted to sleep with him. And the questions that came up for me was, did she groom him? Was he like this before he actually had the sexual encounter with her? Because clearly this is the first one that he had as he was starting his artistic career. And if he wasn't like this before, did she turn him out? Like, I just had so many questions, which we don't really get any kind of answers. We do get answers later on in reference to Renee corroborating the story or giving her perspective of their actual interactions. But she comes up because she's on the prosecutor's witness list, and she's going to be testifying at the trial. Now, as he is describing Renee and that Renee took care of him, but then ultimately they didn't have anything in common, and he decided to leave once he got his career off the ground and everything, he stops and makes a note of like, yo, you can relate. And it's clear, which this is something that I'm going to give Zyair so much credit to. He does a really great job of reading body language, and I guess to be a master manipulator and or a man who is very great at seduction, you have to be able to pay attention to not just what people are saying with their mouth, but paying attention to their breath, paying attention to their eyes, paying attention to how they move, paying attention to how the energy shifts as y'all engage with one another in a similar space. And we get something, or we get to him speaking to this when he confronts Mea later on. However, this is like the little planting of the seed around that as we see that kind of build. And again, y'all, I think that these are all really just great examples of how Tyler has laid out the story and has allowed certain elements to build so that we can have the story that we have. And I think it was so interesting in this scene is when we actually get to see how interested they are in one another, because there are quick cuts to, extreme close-ups of them checking out specific features. So like there's a moment where Mea is paying attention to his lips as he's talking and how his lips look. And he's looking at her legs because she's sitting in here in this skirt as she's like sitting on this little stool and interviewing him, asking all these specific questions. And y'all, I literally wrote here at 45 minutes and 45 seconds, my heart breaks for his heartbreak because he says, nobody is returning my calls. I told y'all how up until this point we're going back and forth of did he do it, did he not? Is he the victim or is he the villain? And in this moment I said, he didn't do it. Free my man. He's just a little social butterfly who got a very unsatiable sex habits. He ain't do nothing wrong. Was I the only one? Y'all gotta let me know in the comment section. Was I the only one? That people won't return my calls, and then the stillness, the quiet, the contemplation that you could see playing out as he like sat with those words as they left his lips. It drew you in. It draws you in as an audience member, but also it draws Mea in, because in the moment where she's trying to stay strong and remind him that we are not friends and all of that, that is the moment, that is the piece of dialogue, that is the beat that gets her to let him in an inch and says, you know what, I can relate to her taking care of you, because she currently in that specific space. Now she don't say all of that, however, you give a man an inch and he gonna take a mile. And I think that we could go ahead and point to this particular moment in time of where it was the beginning of the end, and Mea, them walls is finna come down all the way, not just a little bit, and he's so for serious about that. Now from the perspective of directorial choices, because again, I told y'all I feel like Tyler Perry did a really great job and is evolving as a director. I thought in this particular scene, him choosing to shoot through the canvas, was such a brilliant and creative choice to do, specifically because to establish that, okay, we're taking this particular point of view in reference to the shot, and you want to make sure it's different from any of the other camera angles. You give some type of visual element to it, but the visual element is like this dreaminess. And in the moment that Zyair is getting her to paint and trying to get her to open up, to have specific shots or cut twos shooting from this particular angle with this dreamy like haze, it allows you to start to fall into almost like a hypnotism in reference to like imagining Zyair and Mea and like, where is this about to go? Is she about to fully give in? It really just kind of like dangles the carrot in front of you for a little bit, and again keeps the story freaking engaging. Visually, I think that it was just such a brilliant and stunning choice to do, and it just further contextualized the story. These two are obviously attracted to one another, and could a moment or could a piece of this whole dreaminess shooting through the canvas scene allude to, in a perfect world or in a dream, I will be able to allow myself to go there with you? Just a question, y'all. Just a question. When we see Zyair sit her down and he's like, what's the first color that come to mind? She literally points to or says blue. And this is very important because this is a mirror experience to what Renee describes later on once Mea goes to interview her towards the middle or end of the film. Mea in this moment is not able to fully go along with it. She's still very rigid. She's still very guarded. So while she's going along with it for a moment, she literally stops him and like, I can't do this. I'm ready to go. So she doesn't go to the places that Renee went in that specific moment, but I mean, eventually she still caved. She's just a little bit strong. She's not as weak in her knees. She stood up. But this takes us to scene 18, which is an intro to the motorcycle. And this is just Zyair really checking her boundaries. And it's interesting when you think about Zyair as a character as he navigated this film, because he really had a reckless abandon to like monogamous relationships, and he really did not respect her marriage from the very beginning. And for all intents and purposes, I would be really off put by a person like that, or by a character like that. I would not be able to like vibe with them. However, because I think Trevante is so captivating and his choices within the performance of Zyair are so interesting, you really kind of toggle the line of like, okay, sir, this is inappropriate, but I kind of like it. And I think that the first scene where he tries to get her on this motorcycle is a great like proof of that, right? So, you know, there's a moment where, you know, he's like, oh, I'll take you to the train station, and he's like, come get on my motorcycle. She's like, I thought you had a car. I do have a car, but this is faster. I don't think that that's appropriate. He says, child, do you always do what's appropriate? I mean, I don't have to. No, stop. Then he says like, just hike your skirt up and ride side saddle. She's like, I don't think that that's safe. Do you always do what's safe? The double entendre that could be built on that is just taking me out alone. Come on now, y'all. Y'all know that Tyler's pen was penning. For these words, Tyler's pen was penning. This scene had no actual physical contact, but did so much in building the sexual tension and allowing Zyair to really flourish in all of his arrogance and all of his sexual prowess, but also still allowed her to stand strong as the person that she is. He's like, when she finally rejects all of it and calls like a Uber or Lyft or whatever, he's like, all right, I'll walk you out. No, I got it. And we think, yes, one for Mea. but she's hot and bothered on a damn train. So we get a montage in scene 19. And then in scene 20, it's a sex scene with her husband who has the weakest of weak strokes. So not only do you not have a job, not only are you an addict, not only are you lying to your people and have me lying to your people while they disrespect me and I financially foot the bill for our entire relationship, not only do I not respect you, but you have a weak ass stroke? The bare minimum, if you are going to be a male in this relationship, not putting anything forth emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or financially, is get your stroke game together. What the hell is wrong with you? She come home all hot and bothered after turning down riding side saddle on the back of this motorcycle with this delicious, when I tell you that man is so fine, man, and all you got is this weak ass stroke for her. And you look like you thought you was going to work. And when she turned over, all I said was, she could have had a VA. And y'all, this is where we start to hover. We are like literally crossing the 1 hour mark, coming up on or crossing the 1 hour mark. This is like right before. So this is around like 55 minutes. Scene 21. The lobby of Mea's office when Cal comes to bring her flowers, and because she didn't got all aroused and caught off guard, a little discombobulated, if you will, she now needs Zyair to come to her office, but she wasn't anticipating her husband to be there, to be popping up and giving flowers, because I told you I was going to try. You ain't try hard enough with that weak ass stroke. Please take these flowers on. Zyair, being the menace that he is, walks in, puts his hand on the small of her damn back, and intimidates the hell out of her husband in a matter of 3 seconds flat. And I am sitting here, bated breath, like, what is finna go down? Are they about to fight in this lobby? Because it very much so gives Cal was about to fight for his, and I wouldn't even blame him, because Zyair moves with such confidence and energy, like, yes, I will take your bitch and never give her back because I want to, because it's funny, because I can. And I also wrote down that this is technically their first fight. It was his meet me at my loft for me. He tired of these people with these uptight ass suits. He ain't doing all this. Then the little gutter gangster came out of him, and I'm like, Who you I'm gonna shut up, but I'm gonna be talking again. Y'all, I'm telling you, the first hour had me. And not only that, to ensure that we got the point of him being a menace to society in this scene, he leaves by walking away after demanding that she meets him at his loft and says, I see them jeans. Menace, complete and utter menace to society, and I'm here for every second of it. Scene 22, back at the loft. You a day late. Because what? She's in control. She got this. She's not playing these goofy games with you. And while you are titillating, while the seduction is seducing, I am Mount Everest to you. These hoes can never. And I won't be that easy to crack. That's what I'm thinking that Mea is thinking. And you know what? I commend her because she held it down for so long. I would have been putting in that boy's hand with his hand on the small of my back. I see them jeans would have got me. Hell, do you always do what's appropriate? It would have been a wrap. All up in that damn parking garage. But, you know, things take an interesting turn as it becomes less about the subtle build of the sexual tension and the clear attraction that's never fully spoken on, because Zyair decides to come out with it. I am attracted to you. And he tells her all of the specifics of how he is attracted to her and why he is attracted to her. And while it could feel a little exposition heavy, while it could feel a little, it worked. For me, at least. For whatever reason, it really worked. While I know that we're here to build your defense because you're on trial for murder, let's go ahead and sideline that because you need to profess your attraction to me because I'm completely, utterly different than anything that you have ever experienced. And you are completely intrigued by me and cannot stay focused on actually beating your murder trial until you find a way to crack the case when it comes to my interest in you and or attraction in you. I guess. It was just interesting to me because one of the things I wrote down is like, what does he expect her to do with this info? While I understand the need to profess it, what do you expect her to do? Because again, we're here to defend you on a murder trial. This turns into, I guess, what would be technically their second fight. And I think that Mea spent so much time in this scene trying to be understanding and trying to listen, and he just gets frustrated because she refuses to profess back that she's attracted to him. And I'm like, as she shouldn't. She's literally your attorney. She don't owe you anything. And he decides that he needs to go out because he needs to dance, but she's already told him early on that you do not need to be out and about, and you damn sure don't need to be out and about looking like you looking on a regular basis. You need to be looking downtrodden and or distraught so that if anybody who's in the potential jury pool sees your behind, they don't think that your ass actually did it. You out here looking like Rico Suave in the damn sunglasses with your skin glistening and your beard moisturized. It don't look like you doing bad. It looked like you definitely could have killed that lady. But he said he not going out. Where he going? Y'all, before we even get to where he going, the elevator scene. Not only do you profess, which is scene 23, not only do you profess your attraction to this woman, but you continue to apply pressure, and then you say, only person in the world who can help me won't tell me she's attracted to me or that she believes me. The believes me part I can get with, but again, what are you going to do with the information? Even if she was to confirm that she is attracted to you, why do you need that right now? This is the part where I'm like, Zyair, you are not a serious person, because while I know that you believe that you did not do it, why do you think that this is the most important thing right now? I get it. You love sex, but how much do you love sex to the point that you are going to deprioritize your murder case for getting in the bed with your defense attorney? Sir, you were focused on the wrong things. But I really did enjoy him calling out how her body responds to him. How she averts her eyes from his. I said, we love an intentional man who pays attention and clocks what needs to be clocked. I thought it was a very interesting choice for her to follow him. That takes us to scene 24, which is the underground sex party where Mea gets confronted or propositioned by some young, whatever the hell he is. I don't know what to call him, y'all. And then she runs up out of there. And then we really get to see not all of what Zyair is into, but also, sir, why do you have basically, not in your basement specifically, but you live in some kind of complex where at the very bottom, you can literally leave, walk across your damn parking garage, and then walk into an entire orgy party on a random Tuesday. Is that listed on the Zillow when you go to look for the apartment? The Loft? Is it sack parties on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Bring guac. Scene 25, y'all. Mea returns home and Cal don't even hear her or see her because he's too busy playing video games with Jenna. Yeah, the same woman that y'all are in counseling about because you was sitting at the damn coffee shop holding hands with her. The same woman that your mama said was going to be your second wife and was going to be on time. Cal do not help his own case at all throughout the entire film. And it's like, I want to root for him because he was giving genuine care. He was giving, like, he was kind of trying. It's like, okay, you also are an addict, so clearly you're struggling with things, specifically mentally. But also, you know what time this girl come home. For him to be talking about he's trying, to him to be popping up with flowers, for him to be basically paying all of this lip service to this ideal of getting them back to where they were, he's not actually taking any kind of real tangible action to return their relationship or their marriage back to the glory days. Because you know what time she gets off. You know what time, like, you know that it's damn late. Did you cook? Are you waiting to hear about her day? What are you doing to actually show her that you're into this? But she walks in, you don't even pay attention, and you're literally invested in a video game and a hoochie that you're supposed to be cheating on her with. Use your common sense. Now, as I told you, the first hour is really, really solid. It is around this mark. This is like 101 maybe. 1 hour exactly. Mea goes into her study. This is for scene 26, and she gets a call from Maddie who's saying that, Zyair is scared and he didn't respond right, whatever. That part kind of feels a little bit rushed, but it also feels very plausible, so I don't really have a ton of notes about that. We get from there, she goes to Zyair's loft, which is in scene 27, and she's upstairs, and he so quote unquote wants to apologize, y'all. She says, I know that this is hard for you, but she just wants to communicate boundaries. That's all he needed, because now he's talking about, well, why do you need boundaries? And now he's pressing up on her. Give her 10 feet. Give her 10 feet. Stop walking up on her ass, looking how you looking, probably smelling how you smelling, with the energy field that you have. Like, our girl has been strong this entire film, and at this point, I really understand how she broke. He tries to kiss her neck at 1 hour and 2 minutes, and it's pretty much a wrap after that. This is where the story literally starts to kind of like unravel. I'm asking all types of questions to myself as I'm watching, of like, why doesn't she process more when he's trying to kiss her? What keeps her lingering, watching as this naked woman gives him head? Walks up and just starts giving him head. Also, Zyair, how did you want to apologize, but then you also come over to kiss her and continue to press on her when you were supposed to be apologizing for pressing up on her to begin with? You literally are crossing her boundaries again after she just told you that she was trying to set boundaries. If you were really trying to apologize, then what were you trying to apologize for? Because it clearly wasn't for what you actually did. That you ain't come harder, that you ain't succeed in your mission in that moment. And I wonder, like, is she really curious to sit there and watch this man get head this way? And this is also where I started to think of like, okay, we've been watching this thriller and it hasn't been given too many thrills. Like, it's given great story, it's given great drama, but the whole like whodunit of it all, aside from ominous feelings, of his intense emotion and him being weird or questionable in some of his decisions, none of the thriller things are there. However, in this moment when he's getting here from this white woman and staring at Mea intently as she tries to exit, that part gave very much so sinister, gave very much so capable. I don't know if I actually believe that he killed his ex-girlfriend, but I really believed in this moment that he's capable of more than he's actually alluding to, and that if I thought for a second before, like, he's a menace to society, and I said it in joking or in jest, like, nah, he's a real life menace, because this is some menacing ass to do. And why isn't Mea reacting? I also made a note that, is there any other way, and this was just like a question that I brought up in reference to doing a better job with tying the visuals to the story that's being told. I'm like, is there another way that Tyler could have introduced the relaxing of her boundaries and maybe her sexual repression than to have her just watch the white woman give head? I'm like, could she imagine herself in this space or in these positions with him? Like, I kind of wanted a little bit more in that particular moment, but again, this wasn't like the worst. I literally feel like the worst parts about this film are the last 20 minutes, or the 20 minutes before the last 3 minutes, in reference to like the ending and all of that, which I'm going to speak to specifically. However, in this moment, I did make notes of like, we could have gotten a little bit more visually to better explain, one, why Mea's hanging around so long, and to better flesh out her curiosity around what she was seeing, because she didn't feel as put off by what she was seeing as I would have expected her to. So I kind of wish I just had a little bit of clarity around why. Now, scene 28 is in the parking lot where she gets the call from Jimmy, and then ultimately Jimmy sends her the photo of Cal and Jenna at the Winston, which is the hotel, and then this is the thing that sends her running back to Zyair. And one thing that I wrote was that this is actually believable. So for her to be resisting this man this entire time and to stay true to her marriage, and regardless of how she felt attracted to interested in and or intrigued by this man. She has not allowed herself to go there, and she has done her best to maintain professional distance and create boundaries. And I could totally see in this moment her snap, like her break, because she is fighting so hard to financially support this relationship. She's taking all the flack off of his mama and his brother. He's not showing up as a man. The weak ass stroke didn't do what it was supposed to do the other night when she got turned on by Zyair and then brought her ass home, which is more than a lot of men could say because they would just go ahead and do what they was feeling. She brought her behind home and you did absolutely nothing about the itch that she needed to have scratched. And then she gets physical, visual proof that you are at the hotel with the hoe that you lied and couples counseling about cheating with. Okay, bet. All bets is off. Now, the only thing, y'all, about the scenes that follow, so scene 29, 30, 31, which is all the setup to them finally going there and finally taking it to the level that they need to take it to sexually, is that I don't like her getting second dibs. It just kind of felt a little nasty. It just kind of felt a little gross, even for it to be, Zyair with his fine ass, with his beautiful, you know what, I'm gonna unpack it when we get there. But I do want to go ahead and preface this whole little section with I don't like her getting seconds. That's nasty. But she comes back into the loft in scene 29 and they kiss for the first time. But she stops herself because also she's a proper girl. She doesn't necessarily want to cheat on her husband, but she also feels caught between a rock and a hard place. I think they did a good job Kelly did a phenomenal job of displaying the confliction that Mea was feeling while wanting to free herself and release and to feel wanted and desired in something different. She also didn't want to just abandon all that she had, and I literally felt like I felt that. I would say scene 30, which is the motorcycle ride. I kind of wish we had another scene, another scene after it before we get back to the loft, because while I thought that the motorcycle ride was beautiful, while I get the point of it in reference to concept or theory, right? Like her getting on the motorcycle, her taking a ride with him, one gives us a visual of how they look and vibe together and lets us know that she completely let her walls down and she's trusting of him more, so that when they come back to the loft and they start to getting what they gotta get done, you get that, she doesn't have those apprehensions anymore. But I kind of wish there was even just like a very quick, maybe a 1-minute scene, so we get that confirmation, because it kind of felt arbitrary for them to get on the motorcycle, leave the loft, get on the motorcycle, go take a ride around the city, and then to come back without it being more clearly explained, if that makes sense. But I get the point. Like, I get what he was trying to do. I get what Tyler was trying to do. But again, this is after the 1 hour mark. So this is when I'm saying that the story starts to unravel a bit. It's not as tight and like succinct and as specific and intentional in the choices across the board, whether it's visually or dialogue. Like, we're starting to see little cracks come in, or start to see opportunities for questions to be had that kind of take you out of the story versus pulling you into it. So I just want to make that note. And at 1 hour and 5 minutes and 50 seconds, I wrote, it's not the worst. It just interrupts the flow of the film story-wise. It makes the audience start to question why. And that, again, is the motorcycle scene. Scene 31, child. The artwork that is scene 31, when they come back to the loft after the motorcycle ride. Now, I got these stars. Can y'all see that on this? I don't think that this scene could be moved up, because this is perfectly placed and paced payoff for the building of the sexual tension. But again, maybe if it would have had another little smaller scene in between the motorcycle scene and this scene, it would have flowed a little bit better. It kind of felt a little bit jarring. But then I was automatically like able to forget about how jarring it felt in that little quick moment, because it's honestly just a very stunning sex scene that is not overdone. It is tastefully done. It is artistic. It is beautiful. It is creative. Everybody who was involved in bringing that scene to life, I think that they did their job. They knew the assignment and they showed up and they did their assignment to the max. one of the things that I noted when I was talking to another friend about it is that sometimes I feel like Tyler can go overboard with the nudity, and he could do certain things that just make it feel like, all right, we don't need to see all of that. And I don't feel like this was that. We didn't get to see none of Kelly's body for real, for real. We got a bunch of like things left to our imagination, but we still were able to see a ton. So we were able to make the connections that we wanted to make. And it's probably one of the most sexy sex scenes that I have seen in the last 10 years. You need to watch this movie specifically so that you can get to this particular sex scene. And listen here, Trevante. Nobody told you to get your ass on the screen and stroke it how you stroking. That's a lot, sir. Glory to God, but also that's a lot. Scene 32, they're actually in bed. This is after. And I don't know if it's just me, but him kissing her in the same spots on the forehead that Cal be kissing her felt very menacing. Felt very intentional, gave borderline petty, and that's the only thing that I wrote from that particular scene. This is the scene where she gets to look up and see, you know, her painting her picture above the bed, which in that moment, it feels like the most beautiful thing. It feels like the most amazing thing. It feels like the most special thing to happen, only for us to find out later that it's part of the course. You should be ashamed of yourself, Zyair. Scene 33 is the bathtub scene where they talk about where would they be, and Zyair says we would be somewhere in love if we would have met sooner, and he makes her promise that they will go to the Dominican Republic together when she gets him off his murder trial. And I love this scene specifically because it's so subtle, it's so nuanced. It actually gave me hope in them, and it's like, for a second, I forgot that she is actually still married and you are really still on trial for murder until he says, you gonna get me off and we gonna go. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is not just going to be set up for a happy ending. Y'all did not just have the most amazing sex in the world, have really beautiful chemistry, look amazing together, seem like y'all vibe and bring what each other might lack, and it's just gonna be y'all right off into the sunset. No, there's still very real problems afoot. 34 is the work lobby confrontation. Because Mea is too busy getting her back blown out in the loft, she don't make it home. So Cal and Charlise are at her office the next day when she arrives there, and Cal completely loses his cool. And this is the first time that I'm like, okay, something is going on with this man, because for the most part, you have been so mild and you've been so meek, but now you talking about what the fuck is going on and you jumping all in her face, is giving very much so aggressive. Do you got an abusive trait in your body? An abusive bone in your body? Now I gotta watch you. That's what I'm actually thinking in this moment. And she stands unmoved until Charlise confirms that they were all at the Winston and it was not what she thought. And then all this guilt and shame overcomes her. And I'm just like, gotta be quicker than that. I don't know. I understand why she felt guilty. I understand why she felt ashamed. But I also wasn't really mad about the decisions that she made the night before. And I guess I got to unpack that in my journal, because I typically don't vibe with adultery, but also happens. In scene 35, this is the quitting at Zyair's loft, and he reassures her that nobody will ever know. And she's like, but do you want to gamble with your life like this? And oh my goodness, the dialogue. He says, knowing how you feel about me, absolutely. Well, all right. You know now that you didn't bent it up in me, that you didn't blown back completely out, that you can 100% trust your life in my hands. Meanwhile, I'm spiraling because I am not a cheater, and now I have become a cheater, and I love my husband and I want to try to make it work, but also you are who you are. It's giving confliction and I can't do it anymore. I thought the dialogue in this scene was really brilliant. She says, what's important to me now is how I feel about my husband. I thought in that moment, but how do you feel? What's keeping you there? Is it the act of marriage? Is it because you said those vows? Is it because you made that promise? Or is it actually the deep love for Cal that's keeping you there? See, y'all, at this point, I'm already foregone. I'm already got her 1 foot out the damn marriage and just like, go ahead and file for the damn divorce. Because while she's sitting up here professing that she can't do this anymore and that she's going to go back to her husband, I'm also just like, why? Scene 36, y'all, is on the riverfront with Jimmy, and Jimmy reaffirms her. And this is the point that I spoke to earlier on in the video, where I was saying that Jimmy, said that he would never judge her, and this is kind of like reaffirming that. Like, you get to see that play out, because while it was his fault in sending her the photo with not all the context, and it looked different than what it actually was, because they weren't there together to cheat, even though Jenna should not have been at that damn hotel to begin with. He don't have any type of like ill will or sour eyes towards her after she reveals like she slept with him and she's stressed. He convinces her to go talk to Renee, which is where we're going to get the whole Renee story from her particular point of view, and in the hopes that this will help her decide if she's going to drop Zyair's case or not. Yeah, at this point, like, again, we're getting a little bit of cracks, but for the most part, the story is still chugging along. It's still doing what needs to be done, and I'm still very much so engaged. How is she going to get out of it at this point? Is she going to lose her marriage? Will her and Zyair ride off into the sunset? Is he getting an electric chair? All of these things are still very much so thoughts, which means I'm engaged in the dang on story. Meanwhile, some people online are trying to play like this is not a good movie. Scene 37 is outside the gallery with people protesting, blah, 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 blah. Scene 38. I wrote Tyler Perry storytelling. So this is probably the first part where I feel like Tyler reverts back to some things that we have seen in his previous writing, or some areas of similar to what he has done before. And a specific dialogue from Renee where she's like, "You fucking him yet?" I thought that was bold, specific to ask. I'm like, what makes you think that? But I guess because you literally got him started, and when you fell for all the tricks, then you would know what that looks like. And maybe you are just a great reader of people too, and energy as well. Is it steeping off of me in this moment? She also says he likes you, and I'm like, well, how do you know? Because if you're the bitter person that he avoids now, how do you know that he actually likes her? And she says that I wanted to share with you who he is. What I didn't understand, and why I said that this is the Tyler Perry storytelling, is that while she provides additional information into who she is and her point of view from the same story that we heard from Zyair earlier on, I don't understand her motive. Because while she is trying to tell Mea that this is a snake in the grass and that she needs to cut the snake's head off before it bites her, and she needed her to know as his defense attorney, and she's on the prosecution's witness list, she also refuses to take his pictures down in her art gallery, which is having her art gallery protested day and night. So are you for him or are you not? She makes a comment that his paintings are going to make her richer one day. And I'm like, girl, it feels like this is way bigger than some damn money. Is it that you wanted to see the latest chick that he's sticking it up in? Is it that you actually think that he did it and you're trying to put him away? Because even if that's the case, I feel like if he goes to jail, the property or the value for his artwork would go down, which wouldn't make you actually richer. I really didn't get clarity in this scene around Renee, and aside from her being a big part of Zyair's backstory, I didn't fully understand her purpose in this particular moment. And then we get additional information where she says, like, basically the moves that Zyair put on her, right? The whole making her paint waves and with the blue, and like talking about this and that, and her waking up to the photo on the ceiling. And then, Mea can recall this as well, because this is something that she's recently experienced with him. I get that, right? Like, I really get needing that to be a thing, because that becomes a spark or like an inciting incident to have Mea go and like search for more in this apartment and like confront Zyair. I really just struggle with really understanding which side of the line Renee falls on, because you're literally allowing your gallery to be picketed and boycotted and protests to happen every single day, and you got nothing but FUs and middle fingers to the people outside that are telling you to take this man's photos down because he's a murderer, but you refuse to do it. But you meet with his defense attorney to tell her how terrible of a person he is. I need you to pick a struggle, Renee. But thank you for the information. Now, I just thought about this because I wrote it down, and she said that a snake is never violent when they are stalking their prey. It's when you're within striking distance that you got to be worried. And one, I wrote, girl, do you think that he did it or not? And this is at 1 hour, 21 minutes and 31 seconds. But what's coming up for me now, and I'm talking about it, is like, that was not a reference for Zyair. That could have been a reference for Cal's older brother and his mom. And how the rest of the story plays out, they are the actual snakes. She didn't see so much of it coming until she was right there stuck in the house, and then they attacked. Okay, Tyler, we see you. Scene 39, she's back at the loft and she confronts him about the painting, and I thought that was brilliant. Like, watching her run into the loft and pulling down photos, pulling down paintings. It's like, oh my God, Zyair be running through bitches. Like, Zyair be running through all the bitches. Sir, you should really be ashamed of yourself. And if this is what you want to do, if this is your thing, if this is your only one trick, little pony, then I'm going to need you to not just paste additional paintings on top of each other so that it's like a damn flipboard that you can go and see all of your past conquests in one spot. Ultimately, as she's ripping down the photo, she comes across the one with Heidi where it says, "Stop, you ruined my life," and the conflict builds and explodes from there. She says that he needs a new attorney, and he makes a note that he only had one card to play. She takes it as he's going to go and tell her husband, but I feel like he said that because he's speaking about the one card that he plays with every single woman, and it works every single time. Because while all of the women that you have vetted have experienced this from you, majority of women that you're running into in the world do not get to experience a man who is as intentional, as specific, as nuanced, as creative, as spontaneous as you do. So it's working every single time. He never had to develop no other game. So y'all tell me in the comment section down below, do you think that he was alluding to, I'm gonna go tell your husband what we did? Or did he say, I only had one card to play? Because he literally plays the same exact card with all the women. Literally, he sticks to the same play in this one little playbook. He never had to cultivate any other plays because they always work for his ass. With me, it might have taken a little bit longer than the other ones, but that's what it gave to me, y'all. But y'all can let me know. Because then he also follows it up. She's like, I'll tell my husband before you do. And he's like, that's not what I'm saying. And then he says, I love you. And I don't know. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm caught up in the Trevante of it all. But I believed him, y'all, when he said that. Did you? Now, when we get to the 1 hour, 26 minutes and 20-second mark, and Mea screams, start your fucking elevator. I said, okay, Kelly. Okay, Miss Mamas. I was already locked in because I think that Kelly gave a brilliant performance from beginning to end as Mea Harper in this film. It is moments like that where you have the very intense emotional beats that you see her navigate beautifully, and you can see that she's 100% dropped in and connected, that really just feel like little treats as we go along. Because she's already doing a phenomenal job, but to be able to go to the different extremes, to be able to feel that she does feel betrayed, that she does feel shame and guilt, not only for sleeping with her husband, but also what might feel like the betrayal of self in her gut, because she's been fighting, giving into this man, only to now be presented with evidence of like, he's not who you hoped that he is, or he was. He's not who you hoped he would be. And that's some shit that you got to wrestle with. And then he's also still trying to lay it on thick to you. And you feel like, okay, after you already told him, I'm not some weak woman that you can just seduce. Is that what I turned out to be? Like, all of that is encapsulated in the performance that we get in Kelly in this particular scene. And I'm just like, yo, love this for you, mama. Okay, so now we're at 1 hour, 27 minutes and 41 seconds, and we're entering into scene 40, which is the brother and mother's house. And for me, I wrote down, this is where the story really starts to break down and the pacing shifts. It shifts out of this really nice pace to becoming abrupt and a little bit jilted. I'm trying to think of like the best word. Stuff starts to happen a lot quicker, and it just doesn't flow. It gives very much so inconsistent. Because I just wondered some things, like would she really tell the judge before she told her husband, right? I said that this feels like she should have. I feel like this feels like there should have been a scene of her at home before this, but after she left the loft after confronting Zyair. I'm like, how does the brother know? And specifically, how does he know not just what the clerk told what the judge told the clerk, and the clerk passed on to him in reference to, oh, she's stepping away or she's recusing herself because of inappropriate activity, but he literally asked like, or are you going to tell him where you were all night on this particular day? How you know she was there all night? And I guess like you could assume that because Cal might have said that she didn't come home, that he put two and two together, but it feels like he knew a little bit more, or in a way that was a little bit more than just an assumption. And I'm also like, she wouldn't say nothing. It takes an hour for them to get from the city to his brother's house. She wouldn't have said nothing in the car on the way over, but she willingly comes to this house knowing that the mama hates her, knowing that the brother is not feeling her, knowing that the whole thing is uncomfortable. She just had to do this. He's the prosecutor on this case. Did she really walk into this house thinking that nothing was going to come up? And I just feel like this feels like it's a setup, and she would have been smarter than to just walk right into it. Does that make sense? Now, what sent me in a moment, it kind of, I guess, brought me back to the story, is the mother blaming her for him losing his job and being an addict because she put too much pressure on him. When I tell y'all, I looked at that lady and I said, why aren't you dead yet? Which to me kind of works against Tyler in the film, because if I'm asking those type of questions, I'm basically asking this insensitive ass question around this supposed cancer patient, which kind of takes me out of the story, because I'm in that particular moment too busy rooting for your downfall to really be paying attention to what's playing out on screen. And what's playing out on screen is that she's now being forced or compelled to confess to sleeping with Zyair. Cal actually loses it, and this is the moment where I didn't actually believe Sean's performance, because I've seen this type of aggression specifically performed by him for another character in Tyler Perry's Sisters, and I was just like, okay, this is OD. You done flip the table. I get that you mad, but also like calm it down. And I just made a note of some of the dialogue specifically in the scene was questionable. In scene 41, outside the house, Charlise coming out to comfort her has two purposes. The I'm so sorry that Mea says, I think hits Charlise. And when she says, I know, it's like she knows that, one, you didn't mean to do it. You're not the type of girl. Like, it's not that like, you're not this. You're bigger than this mistake. But also the I know, because she been there before and she fell for the same that Mea fell for. And when on the first watch, you don't know that. But on the second and third, it hits like, damn, this whole time you have also slept with Zyair. You have also been painted. You have also had all of these things. And why didn't you warn me? Okay, scene 42, y'all. The Dominican Republic bar. And as I mentioned, so already at, what did I say, 1 hour 27 minutes and 41 seconds, this is where the story starts to break down. That's at the start of scene 40, where they come to the house, where she comes to the house and then gets basically ambushed about her sexual exploits with Zyair. But child, when we get to Dominican Republic in scene 42, and on the news is that Zyair takes a deal and they don't have a body, but they're not going to ask for a body. One, I said, would this be on the Dominican Republic TV at the damn bar? Why would they be tuning into this specific New York case? All the crimes happening across America. Why in the hell would this be on the TV in this particular moment? I would have believed it more if she was actually watching it from her phone or something. But okay. This is also intercut with scene 43. I'm calling Jimmy walking. And this is I have really goes off the rail. The whole thing really goes off the rail because they have a conversation about Cal, and he's going to counseling. She needs to talk to him. It's a little bit of filler. We go to scene 44, and she's running on the beach, and this is at 1 hour 33 minutes and 51 seconds. The chase scene with Heidi, who's supposed to be dead, happens, and I'm like, where in the hell did she come from? How did we get here? We're now chasing her up and down the damn the hotel, only to have a little standoff in front of the maid cart, and the lady gets away by spraying Windex in her face, snatching her phone, and pushing her to the ground. Tyler, what? That whole thing, like, I get what he was trying to do. I like the idea of her stumbling across her at some resort, because I started to pick up very early on that Heidi ass is not dead. Y'all don't even have a body, and y'all trying to get this man for murder. Y'all are standing outside this damn gallery protesting, talking about some your walls, her blood. Meanwhile, y'all ain't even seen no damn blood. The head skull fragments and the quote unquote blood was all planted there. Y'all have no additional stuff. And I get that people disappear, and you can process a murder for somebody who body disappears, because killers disappear bodies all the time. But something about this just gave like, this lady is not dead. There at no point did Zyair even point to or allude to any particular place where he would be able to hide a body. Like, he seems like such a simple man that just seems to be addicted to sex. So at this point, I'm just like, all of this is wild. Of course she's still alive. And now you got this man rotting in jail for some stuff that he know that he didn't do. You know that he didn't do. And you too busy running away from your goofy ass in-laws who have always been the problem to begin with. While I'm saying, okay, cool, go ahead, take a vacation, and you want to get away, cool. But don't let them little goofy ass people run your ass about in your own city when they are a mess. But that chase scene was completely a mess. The whole fight, it was a mess. It was a mess. But again, this is the 20 minutes that I'm telling y'all about that really was the struggle part of the script. And I get the criticism that people have for it. As you can see, I have criticism for it. However, this 20 minutes does not ruin the entire film for me. Scene 42 is outside of the Dominican Republic police station. And my number one question is, why in the hell would she call Ray first? Now all of a sudden she trusts Ray. Regardless of him being an assistant DA, regardless of him being a prosecutor of the case, he does not ever wish you well. And he doesn't seem to be like somebody who operates with any type of scruples and morals. So why in the hell are we calling him first, not calling Cal? And you said that you called Jimmy, which is, again, inconsistency in the writing, because you told him that Jimmy was on a plane already and headed to the DR. And then he convinces you that he's going to get his actual investigator, and then you need to come to the house. That makes absolutely no sense. And I really believe that Mea as a character would be smarter than to put all of her trust in that nigga. You put your trust in it. Yeah, it just didn't work for me, y'all. So in scene 46, when she's arriving at Ray, I'm like, why would you come straight to this house? They don't like you. The mother don't like you. You literally told him that, and you show up there. You don't touch bases with Cal. You don't call Cal. You don't call Jimmy for backup or anything. You just show up there. And again, this speaks to the poor pacing, the lack of clear setup, and a little bit of abandonment of some of the character development for the characters that we've seen. So even though we've seen Mea, break some of her boundaries, I still don't believe that she just is stupid all of a sudden. And this gives stupid. Now, this scene is intercut with scene 47, where Jimmy is in the car. He's not actually in the DR. And I'm like, well, she should have said that she can put her PI on a plane, because clearly he's not on his way there. But Jimmy reveals to her that the mama don't have cancer. And I'm like, if Jimmy knew that the mama is lying about having cancer, why isn't he concerned that now Mea is at that house by herself? I was expecting towards the end for Jimmy to pop up and maybe save her, maybe help her. But for us to go through the entire rest of the film, and this is the last time that we actually see Jimmy, that felt a bit weird to me, because he has been so protective up until this point. But again, we already off the rails at this point, so some things just ain't going to add up. The Ray reads your email. Jimmy gives you information that you need to know. You have been sending Ray money every month for this lady's hospital bills, cancer care, and your decision in this moment is to tell Ray to check his email because you got proof that she's faking it, as if Ray ass don't know. As if Ray has not already orchestrated all of this deception. Again, when the hell did Mea fall down and wake up stupid? And y'all, I don't know if y'all can see this because my handwriting is a little crazy. I literally wrote the worst climax killer is this one line of dialogue. And I said, Tyler, not you, Tyler Perrion. When Cal's older brother says, we cooked all this shit up, I said, okay, you done lost me. You done completely lost me. Why are you going to give the big reveal, the whole confirmation of it all in that goofy ass line from this goofy ass nigga? We cooked all this up. Clearly, we're figuring it out. At this point, he doesn't even need to say that. Get on with the menacing. Get on with the terrorizing. Get on with trying to kill her, because you using that particular line just ruined a lot for me, but it didn't ruin the film. Now, question. Why is the mama going to kill the mother of the son's kids with no hesitation? Were you always plotting and planning just because she slept with Zyair? I did think that, though, the way that they had Mea come across the painting of Charlise by Zyair was brilliant. I did enjoy that. From here, y'all, a fight starts to break out. The mama trying to kill Cal older brother, trying to put her through the damn fridge. All this stuff is happening. Scene 48, the fight continues. It goes all the way outside. She winds up having to crash the damn truck that she tries to steal to get away from the older brother, and the mama's hanging on the damn hood. Good riddance to that hoe. Scene 49, she actually is running down the street trying to get away, and she runs into Cal in the car. This man, again, dialogue, all types of shoddy. Yeah, 911. 911 called him back. Yes, it's 911. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. The payoff of the whole Bluetooth that she did when they were first in the car, the very beginning, I thought that was really nice, a nice touch, because he's supposed to be on the phone with 911 when he's really on the phone with his older brother. His older brother like, bring her ass back here, and she is able to press the Bluetooth just enough time to actually hear that, so she realizes like he's taking me back to this house because he is in on it. He has been in on it the entire time, which really was disheartening, but also you're the baby brother of this goofy ass family, so clearly I gave you too much benefit of the doubt to begin with. I struggle with the whole, he told me to beat your ass to get you in line. Get you in line how? She's already paying all of the bills at your house, feeding you, fucking you, pacifying your goofy ass ego, lying to your mama. How much more in line do you need her to be? So that kind of felt like I got what Tyler was trying to do, but it also felt like it was so on the nose. It could have been a little bit more massaged. But again, we're already in the part of the script where we are completely off the rails. So it is what it is. He's talking about, I said I wanted to try it the sweet way. Could you try getting a job and keeping it? Could you try not being addicted to painkillers or narcotics or whatever the hell you are addicted to? Could you try not going into your job drunk as hell? Could you try not trying to cheat on me with the high school love interest? Could you try checking your damn mama? Could you try being a man for once? Since you want to try things. That's just my little commentary, y'all. Scene 51 is the arrest, and then scene 52 is the whole resolution and the release. And while we went through a tumultuous 20 minutes of like, what the fuck in the DR, it's moving so fast, a random fight scene that don't feel believable or plausible. Like I said at the very beginning of this video, the very end was, I enjoyed watching Mea watch Zyair get released. She provided enough information so that her brother-in-law could go to jail for setting him up. Zyair gets released. We get to see Zyair text her saying thank you after giving her a shout out on the news, and then also like begging to see her, and she just tosses the phone in the trash and keeps it moving. It was never going to be able to work between the two of them. And maybe, who knows, she ends up with Jimmy anyway. We don't know. Kelly gets to saunter off as the beautiful Mea, who has traversed this thriller in terrible time, but also she probably comes out of this such a better person, stronger than ever, and released from this goofy ass marriage that wasn't serving her anyway. And that's Mea Culpa, starring Kelly Rowland and Trevante Rhodes, written, directed, and produced by Tyler Perry. I hope that y'all enjoyed this full scene to scene breakdown, as well as the non-spoiler review if you only watched that. I really enjoyed making it and sharing my notes with y'all. I really did enjoy the film, even with the areas that I had grave criticism and some parts that I take issue with. I'm gonna leave y'all with this. I get how some things can get very trendy, but I would be very careful being a trendy bitch, being a person that goes along with too many trends. I really struggle with people really jumping on the bandwagon to bash Tyler because of this film in this release week. I thought it was very distasteful, and being a person who is also a filmmaker, I write, I direct, I act, I do a bunch of things. It is very hard to get projects made, and I'm very proud that Tyler has built all that he's built. He literally is probably the only Black person who has 100% green light ability for his own stuff. He has built not only a masterful studio where other people and other productions can utilize his services and make their projects, but he has built an ecosystem where he gets to greenlight his own stuff. Meanwhile, myself, Ava DuVernay, and other great creatives have to go and pitch ourselves to mostly a bunch of white people who don't understand our stories, who don't understand why we want to share certain stories, who don't understand specific nuances or cultural references. And it is a fight to get our stuff made. So while Tyler Perry might not be the top or the creme of the creme for you, I think that more people need to put respect on his name for putting himself in a position to be empowered in telling Black stories how he wants to tell them. And for everybody who had such grave criticism for him behind this film, I literally have said, hush your ass up if you ain't seen Origin by Ava DuVernay. Hush your ass up if you have yet to see 1001 by A.V. Rockwell. I don't want to hear no criticism. I don't want to hear nothing bashing Tyler Perry and saying that he should not be making films because he needs to do better and portray Black people better when y'all asses ain't going to the theater to see the things that are supposed to be quote unquote better. And that's coming from a person who watches it all. Again, I hope you enjoyed my breakdown. I hope that you take my little read, my little quick gut check. If you one of those people who was jumping on the bandwagon to bash this man about this film as if it's the worst thing that was ever made, because it's not. I hope that you take me calling you in with love and calling a thing with love. Drop your thoughts about my review as well as what you felt about the film in the comment section down below. Hit the like button if you're into in-depth conversations just like this, because I'm your good sis you love to talk TV and film with. And I'll see you in my next one. Gotta reapply. I'm sitting here talking for 40 minutes at a time. This is about to be a freaking hour and a half review that I gotta cut down. Lord help me. Shout out to the Fenty, the best freaking gloss in the world. Gloss Mom. Go to. Anywho. Stay focused, Erica. It is 4:29 in the morning. So I'm about to get a little goofy because I'm sleepy as hell. Oh, that's that coming on. Okay. What am I doing?